For Hot Picks today, we wanted to zero in on the cannabis sector, and our next guest notes that medical cannabis exports are growing rapidly due to higher demand from markets like Europe and other global markets. But before we dive into those top picks, we're also keeping close tabs on Canopy Growth, that stock under pressure after the company's latest quarterly results. Federico Gomes is the Director of Institutional Research and Life Sciences at ATB Capital Markets. Nice to see you. Let's just talk about Canopy, perhaps the best-known name in the sector, which has been struggling in the last few months. What's going on with the business? What do you think the concerns are for investors there?
So they reported the negative results this quarter, missed estimates. I think what concerns investors is the negative free cash flow. So the company is still not positive, generating positive free cash flow, which is always a concern. Obviously, I think it's undeniable that they need to cut costs. So they did announce some additional measures this morning, aiming to cut $20 million in additional costs over the next 12 to 18 months. They have a new management team in place, a new leadership, a new CEO that just started this year. So I think we got to give him some time to work on the operations here, but they do need to turn this around and cut costs and improve operations. And
as you've observed the business, because you spent a lot of time looking at the financials as well, are there things that might make sense, do you think, for the new leadership team there to continue to look at perhaps doing?
Well, I think international growth opportunities. So we're seeing very strong growth in Europe, in Germany, since April 1st, 2024, when they changed regulations there. So it is a very fast-growing medical cannabis markets. Pretty much the entire sector, all the licensed producers in Canada are exporting to Germany. They're seeing increased volumes, and I think Canopy can definitely take advantage of that opportunity to increase sales and improve margins.
And that's one of the themes behind how you're picking potential winners in the sector right now, is that European opportunity and beyond?
Yes, I think international growth opportunity is the key theme in the sector. We really like Village Farms, which is one of the largest Canadian LPs, large-scale, low-cost cultivation capabilities here in Canada, but also seeing strong growth internationally. They expect to triple international sales in 2025. They also have a presence in the Netherlands with a local facility there. So we like the name because of the international growth opportunity, but also because recently, just a couple of weeks ago, they announced a transformational transaction, really, to privatize a portion of their produce assets. So they operate some greenhouses in the U.S. with tomatoes and cucumbers. They are privatizing that. They're getting $80 million proceeds from that. $40 million is going to be cash. And since then, the stock has gained, about 70%. So we like the stock momentum here.
Okay, let's compare that pick to another, SNDL. What is it about that business that has your attention?
SNDL is a very different business in cannabis because they are very diversified. So they have exposure to liquor retail, cannabis retail, LP operations, so cultivation and manufacturing, as well as investments in the U.S. So it's a very diversified platform. We particularly like the exposure to cannabis retail. They're one of the largest cannabis retailers in Canada. It is a sector that is consolidating. And we also see upside with their U.S. exposure. So they have two investments in the U.S. that are undergoing restructuring. And if they gain exposure there, they could increase the platform. I think that would be very positive for the stock.
And then High Tide is also on your list today. What's the story of High Tide right now?
Well, it is the largest cannabis retailer in Canada. They operate a banner called Canna Cabana. You might have seen it. They have 200 stores in Canada. Like I said, the retail sector is consolidating, and High Tide, as the largest retailer, stands to benefit from that. The company is opening new stores using their own cash flows, and I see it as a growth at a reasonable price story. They have 200 stores. Long term, they aim to have 300, so 50% growth here. So that should keep them growing for the next 3 to 4 years.
And it's funny, like for promise to materialize for investors, sometimes with businesses, it's just wait and watch. Sometimes there's the opportunity for, if you're talking about consolidation, maybe some of the better operational players to catch the eye of another player. In unlocking value, do you think that just comes with time with some of these stocks? Do you think it's, maybe some of them get acquired if there's more consolidation? What what goes into that part of the analysis?
So I think we are seeing M&A happening at the retail side of things. So like I said, SNDL, they are acquiring other players, so they are a consolidator in the space. So definitely it is a theme for them. Among the LPs, not so much. I don't see a strong rationale for M&A. And so it's about other catalysts. Like I said, for Village Farms specifically, selling a portion of their operations that are non-cannabis related, that was a catalyst and the stock reacted very well.
And it sounds like with everything you're saying that just relying on Canada's still relatively young cannabis market itself, with all the hype just a few years ago, is not enough. It's not enough to wow investors, basically.
It's not enough for the LPs because we're not seeing accelerated growth. We're still seeing moderate growth, mid-single digits, but investors like growth and they like profitability, and that is in the international markets.
And in terms of the U.S. market, for just a final question for people who've been wondering about, for Canadian players, how they're going to be able to tap into that market. I mean, I feel like we get news out of the White House every day, but on the cannabis front, still a little bit murky on where we go from here. How do you figure out that part of the equation?
Well, we have two catalysts that investors are looking for in the U.S. So maybe we get rescheduling. Maybe we get a safe banking, but it's still TBD, so we don't know the timing. There's a lot of uncertainty. For the Canadian LPs, I do think that exploring the tangible opportunity of exporting to Europe, increasing volumes, increasing margins, that's key.
Okay. Federico, great to get your perspective as always. Thanks for breaking down the sector of cannabis. Federico Gomes is Director of Institutional Research and Life Sciences at ATB Capital Markets.